Harper One and HarperAudio present The Story of You, an Enneagram Journey to Becoming Your True Self by Ian Morgan Cron. Read by the author. For Cale, Madeline, and Aidan, thank you for blessing my story. Chapter 1. The Stories We Tell, Recognizing the Myth of Who You Are. The universe is made of stories, not of atoms. Muriel Rukeyser. When I dragged myself into my first 12-step meeting for people battling substance addiction, I felt more self-conscious than a bastard at a family reunion. Like most shame-riddled newcomers who fear rejection, I was sheepish about asking anyone to be my sponsor. But there was this one guy, Jack, a 75-year-old retired Episcopal priest and therapist, was a recovery superhero. Whenever he spoke at meetings, his wry sense of humor and hard-won wisdom were apparent to everyone. He was a beacon of hope to those of us who had earned our seats in the rooms. One night after a meeting, I mustered up the courage to introduce myself to him and ask if he'd consider taking me under his wing. Jack's face softened, a smile appearing behind his eyes. "How long since you last drank or drugged?" he asked. 2 weeks, I said, looking down at my shoes. "Congratulations," he said, throwing his arms around me and hugging me so enthusiastically I thought he might break one of my ribs. "I'll take you on." Under Jack's mentorship, my 2 weeks of sobriety stretched into 1 month, then 2, and before I knew it, I received my anniversary chip marking 3 continuous months. My life was humming along swimmingly until Jack dropped a bomb on me at one of our weekly Sunday morning check-in meetings at the Colonial Diner. "I signed you up to share your story at next week's Sunday night speakers meeting," he said, stirring 2 packets of sugar into his coffee. Recovery groups offer different meeting formats. In a speakers meeting, one person shares their story, what their life was like before and while they were using, and the experience, strength, and hope they're finding through the program and working the steps. It's kind of like a personal testimony you might hear at a Baptist church, only boozier. "Jack, you'd tell me if you'd had a stroke, right?" I said, only half kidding. "No. Why do you ask?" Jack said, arching one eyebrow. "Because I've only been sober for 3 months. I'm not ready." "You don't have to deliver the Gettysburg Address," he said, chuckling. For the next 30 minutes, I came up with one lame excuse after another to get out of speaking. But Jack wouldn't budge. Resigned to my fate, I stood up and laid down a 5 on the formica-topped table. "See you on Sunday," I muttered, picking up my windbreaker and walking to the door. "Get yourself to 5 meetings this week," Jack called after me. Without turning around, I waved goodbye. Yeah, I know. Over the next 7 days, I wrote and trashed at least a dozen drafts of my life story. During my last pharmaceutical jag, I had suffered a series of panic attacks and was still terrified of losing control in public. But I slaved away until I had an acceptable draft of my chemical misadventures and rehearsed it, ignoring the movies in my head featuring projectile vomiting and images from Edvard Munch's The Scream. That Sunday night, I stood before 200 people and told the story of me, at least as I understood it at the time. I described how I'd always felt like a troubled guest on the dark earth. I was sure I lacked something inside that everyone else seemed to have. I felt like a college freshman who'd missed orientation week and didn't know his way around campus like everyone else. I enumerated the long list of reasons for my tattered self-worth, including my father's death from alcoholism and how I'd still give anything to believe I wasn't somehow responsible for his inability to love me. Then I described how I felt when I took my first drink.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?